Okay, next morning.
Next morning.
Next morning.
All right. Hope everyone is well and cheerful and healthy and hoping for a better Malaysia.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, tonight's topic is the benefits of glutathione for autism. Autism is better expressed as the autism spectrum disorder because there's a wide range of presentations of this problem. Many of us are familiar with children or even adults with autism. So, but before we see what glutathione can do for ASD or autism spectrum disorder, let's just revise what is glutathione first. This is the molecule of glutathione with the sulfhydryl or thiol group there, with the lone sulfur atom there that gives glutathione its versatility, but also makes it fragile. And glutathione is a tripeptide, that is, it's made of 3 amino acids, glutamic acid, cysteine, and glycine. It's the body's most abundant endogenous antioxidant, protecting it from free radical damage and oxidative stress, and regulating its immune function, plus many other functions. So for decades, it is known as the most important intracellular antioxidant and called the master antioxidant. And it has several other major functions, plus hundreds of minor functions, from DNA synthesis to nitric oxide production to regulating the release of oxygen from our red blood cells. And because of these many functions, glutathione is essential for life. And studies have shown that low levels are associated with many chronic diseases, and high levels are predictive of longer lifespans. You can see the short form of active or reduced glutathione, GSH. SH refers to the thiol group, and G is the rest of the molecule. When it is oxidized or in the inactive form, it becomes GSSG. GSSG is actually the GSH minus the H, you have GS, and then you put the GS back to back, you have GSSG. It means 2 molecules of glutathione without the hydrogen. That is become GSSG combined together. So after neutralizing a free radical, the GSH becomes unstable GS, which then combines with another GS back to back to form the stable GSSG. So GSSG is then reactivated to 2 times GSH again by the enzyme glutathione reductase. So this is how glutathione is recharged or recycled. And the ratio of GSH to GSSG is a critical indicator of cellular health and overall longevity. So when we are able to do the test, we can know what is the situation in our body, because this ratio is predictive of our health and longevity. A healthy ratio is more than equals to or more than 99:1. That means 99% should exist in the reduced or active form. So these are the major functions of glutathione. As the most important intracellular antioxidant for all cells, including brain cells. It's a powerful anti-inflammatory agent, a very important immune modulator, powerful detoxifier, and a versatile signaling molecules, and hundreds of other functions. Okay. Now we move to glutathione for autism. Patients with autism, right, autistic children and adults, exhibit high levels of oxidative stress and inflammation. This is according to studies, especially in the context of the brain. And the cellular damage caused by oxidative stress and inflammation may contribute to the ASD symptoms that they have. This may in part be attributable to the fact that production of glutathione is typically either impaired or otherwise inefficient in these patients. Studies show that many autistic patients have defective genes related to one or more enzymes of the glutathione system. Okay, a study published 10 years ago found that glutathione levels in the cerebellum of patients with ASD were 44.6% lower than in healthy controls. Right, that cerebellum is the hindbrain, which also controls our balance. Researchers found that lower levels of glutathione are correlated to higher levels of inflammation and neuronal dysfunction in samples of brain matter taken from deceased patients. For example, patients with ASD exhibited 72% higher concentrations of biomarker molecules, which signify oxidative stress-based DNA damage. Okay, it's a bit mouthful, but it says that the studies show that the brains of those with ASD have 72% higher concentrations of the biomarkers of DNA damage that are caused by oxidative stress. So boosting glutathione levels via supplementation could be an effective way of supporting the body's fight against oxidative stress and inflammation and reduce the risk of damage to critical brain tissues. After boosting glutathione, study shows patients may experience fewer neurological and behavioral symptoms, such as executive dysfunction. Sorry, I have to drink. My throat gets dry easily nowadays. Must be the vaccine. Sorry. Okay, I repeat. After boosting glutathione, studies show patients may experience fewer neurological and behavioral symptoms, such as executive dysfunction, emotional dysregulation, and social withdrawal. Epilepsy is also reduced, and the side effects of their drugs are also reduced. So, there are many ways glutathione can help those with ASD. All right. This is a report on the controlled pilot trial of boosting glutathione using NAC, N-acetylcysteine, which is a glutathione precursor. And in this study, 33 children were randomized into two groups. One consumed the NAC for 12 weeks and the other took placebo. And at the end of the trial, the kids who consumed this glutathione precursor had a reduction in irritability scores by 80%. And there were minimal side effects. Okay, I'll jump the gun a bit. By now, you all would remember that ribosine is 300% more efficient than NAC in boosting glutathione. So even though the study was done on NAC, you can imagine what you can expect with ribosine. There are no large clinical trials investigating glutathione as a treatment for ASD. Though no large clinical trials investigating glutathione as a treatment for ASD have been completed thus far, ample research have established the link between oxidative stress, inflammation, and ASD symptoms, such that glutathione supplementation has become the most likely prospective therapy, especially since it can be done conveniently and cheaply compared to other novel therapies. Okay, I hope the pediatricians and the others treating autistic children are aware of this. Autism is associated with autoimmunity and the lack of immunoglobulins, which cause neural inflammation that correlates with the severity of symptoms. Glutathione can improve autoimmunity, and this aspect may explain the improvement of symptoms beyond the antioxidant and anti-inflammatory actions. Toxicity is another well-known risk factor for autism, and glutathione is the body's main detoxification agent used by the liver, kidneys, and all organs to neutralize various toxins and contaminants, especially heavy metals. Okay, so in autism, oxidative stress is a major problem. So this study of 10 years ago measures the biomarkers of oxidative stress in autism. This is a systematic review and meta-analysis. That means it looked into all the available studies up to that date. And the conclusion, after the meta-analysis, the ASD patients showed decreased blood levels of reduced glutathione, decreased glutathione peroxidase, the enzyme that works with glutathione, decreased methionine and cysteine. Methionine is amino acid from which cysteine can also be formed. And increased concentrations of oxidized glutathione, the GSSG, yeah, relative to controls. Whereas superoxide dismutase, another antioxidant enzyme, homocysteine and cystathionine showed no association with ASDs. Okay, so the glutathione systems and the amino acids relevant to glutathione production are all reduced, yeah, in ASD patients. Another study, brain region specific glutathione redox imbalance in autism. Conclusion, glutathione is a major endogenous antioxidant that plays a crucial role in protecting cells from exogenous and endogenous free radicals and toxins, particularly in the central nervous system. The present study examines the concentrations of glutathione, GSH in the reduced form, and GSSG, the oxidized form, and the redox ratio of GSH to GSSG, which is a marker of oxidative stress, in different regions of the brain, of brains from autistic subjects and age-matched control subjects. So in the cerebellum and temporal cortex, from subjects with autism, glutathione levels, the active form glutathione, was significantly decreased by 34.2 and 44.6%, with a concomitant increase in the levels of the oxidized form, GSSG, by 38.2 and 45.5% respectively, as compared to the control group. Okay, I hope you understand that. It shows that in the autistic brain, the cerebellum and the temporal cortex were studied. It shows that there is oxidative stress due to significant reduction of the active form compared and a significant rise in the oxidized form of glutathione. In contrast, there was no significant change in glutathione, GSH and GSSG, and TGSH, the total level. Okay, levels, that means GSH plus GSSG. One is the ratio, one is the amount. Okay, in the frontal, parietal, and occipital cortices in autism versus control group. Okay, so it's not all part of the brain that are affected. So they found out these are the parts of the brain that are affected. The redox ratio of GSH to GSSG was also significantly decreased by 52.8% in the cerebellum and by 60.8% in the temporal cortex of subjects with autism, suggesting glutathione redox imbalance in the brain of individuals with autism. These findings indicate that autism is associated with deficits in glutathione antioxidant defense in selective regions of the brain, cerebellum, and temporal cortex. So study after study shows not only a reduction in the active form of glutathione and an increase in the inactive form or the oxidized form, which is a reflection of oxidative stress. The studies also have been able to zoom into which part of the brain is affected, right? Because other parts are not affected, only the cerebellum and temporal cortex. Okay, so I've shown you studies on the brain showing oxidative stress as a major factor. But remember, glutathione's role is not just in fighting free radical, it's also used up in fighting inflammation, and inflammation also been found to be a major factor in the brain of of autistic people. Toxins also. So all this, in fact, contribute. So it's not just oxidative stress or all the other factors just now. The inflammation and the toxins also contribute to the imbalance of GSH to GSSG in the brain, in the affected part of the brain, the cerebellum and the temporal cortex. Now, there's development in the research on autism. So while a lot of problems have been found in the brain, then what's interesting now is that the research has gone further and found that maybe the brain is only showing the result of something else. And that something else is what's happening in the gut of the autistic children. So gut microbiome is a collection of all the microbials in the gut. And then the gut-brain exists. That means the gut and the brain are somehow connected. And in fact, the gut influences the brain, and the brain, of course, also influences the gut, right? Glutathione and ASD. So what do we know so far? We know that gut microbiome is known to influence the brain, right? Through the gut, brain exists. And we know that ASD is associated with abnormal brain function, right? So that's already obvious. We know that ASD is associated with unhealthy gut microbiome now, right? They show that those with the ASD have unhealthy gut microbiome. We know that ASD can be improved by improving the health of the gut microbiome. And we know glutathione improves gut microbiome and overall gut health. We know glutathione also protects the gut wall against leakage, the leaking, the leaky gut syndrome is called. And we know the gut microbiome modulates local glutathione production. Okay, you see, so the role of glutathione in the intestines. Glutathione keeps the intestines healthy, keeps the microbiome healthy, but the microbiome itself also influences glutathione production. So those with unhealthy microbiome and who need more glutathione, they have a double problem, because now the unhealthy microbiome also adversely affects glutathione production. Okay, so it's important to keep your gut microbiome healthy through other means, meaning through healthy probiotic friendly diet, or taking probiotic supplements, taking prebiotics that fit the probiotics, and avoiding all the other things that will affect the health of the microbiome. Okay, this is an interesting study, okay, to show that probably the problem is actually in the gut, and the brain is just the result of the problem in the gut. Okay, so in this study, the gut microbiota from autistic humans were put into germ-free mice, and these mice became autistic. Okay, let us see, So what more proof do you want? This was just published 3.5 years ago, right? The gut microbiota from human donors with ASD transplanted into germ-free mice. Okay, so they don't have any germs at that. And then the autistic behavior starts appearing. Amazing, eh? Okay, not only that, then when they treat this now autistic mice with specific microbial metabolites that make the microbiome healthier, then their behavior starts improving. Okay, all right, and the brain also become calmer. So you see, the changes in the brain is only reflecting what's happening in the gut. Yeah? The problems start there. Amazing, eh? Now the research has shown, yes, there are probably autistic children have have problems with the disconnection there. But now they're zooming into the real problem is here. Well, it's really, really amazing that you can actually transfer autistic behavior by just transferring the microbiota. Put into mice, they become autistic. Okay, so these are some of the studies on gut microbiota and the ASD. Microbiota transfer therapy alters gut ecosystem and improves gastrointestinal and autism symptoms and open label studies. So just now it's the study on from human to mice. So they also do from human to human, and see the same result. Microbiota gut-brain axis and its potential therapeutic role in autism spectrum disorder. Distinct fecal and plasma metabolites in children with autism spectrum disorders and their modulation after microbiota transfer therapy. Okay, so they diagnosed the health of the autistic children microbiome from studying their feces. Okay, and then they treat by transferring healthy microbes into the children. The emerging roles for gut microbiome and autism spectrum disorder and the brain-gut microbiome system, pathways and implications for autism spectrum disorder. Okay, and these are some other references to the earlier studies I mentioned. So thank you very much. So I hope you all are convinced of the important role of glutathione in this ASD, the problem of autism or autism's spectrum disorder. Even when we were focusing on the changes in the brain, it is glutathione. That is important. Oxidative stress, inflammation, toxins, all can be handled by glutathione. And when you zoom in into the gut microbiome, also we know glutathione has a very important role in the health of the gut and the gut microbiome. So thank you very much.